Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of System Link, this time for Saturday, the 15th of August, 2026. I'm your host, Jonathan Garrett, joined as always by my reliable co-hosts, Mike Hazelton from the Xbox Guide and Stephen Murray, who you may recognize from that little game called Knockout City, the voice of the DJ. It's a pleasure, as always, to have you both on the show, on air, hopefully. It's looking good, sounding good, relatively on time. We're just getting a little bit better every week. Mike, welcome back. Good to see you, man. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. Glad to be back. I watched you guys last week, and it was good fun. But I was sorry to miss out. So yeah, looking forward to this.
Sorely missed our trio jolliness, and we are going to be
Oh,
playing
I
some
missed
Arc
it.
Raiders tonight
Mhm.
during the podcast. Steve, welcome back again. This is your second episode of System Link now. How you feeling? How you doing?
Doing well. You look fantastic. You look like a young Hugh Grant. So don't worry about the scope of any of the lighting. You know, they look great, and I feel great too. And we'll chat about those lined up topics, and we'll dive into some Arc Raiders, and fingers crossed on how we play tonight. So yeah, looking
I mean,
forward
it's
to it.
always going to be flip a coin when we're going into Arc Raiders. Hence why I think we're going to attempt a sort of low stakes looting run while we're keeping the podcast moving. Shout out to Celtic Fury in chat, waiting for takeoff. We have officially taken off. And Jess hardly knows. What a pleasure to see you in chat. Hey guys, finally caught a stream. You are always welcome. So great to see you. Thank you so much for popping in. Shout out just really quickly to my friends over in Gaming Arcadia who've been giving shout outs to the podcast and generally just being really supportive of us and everything we're doing here. We've managed to time it now as well that our podcast kicks off when the Gaming Arcadia Roundtable wraps up. There's now no crossover with that, so if you want to just double
Excellent.
trouble it and you want to get, a slightly different flavor from the quartet over there to build on your evening of streaming jolliness, then now we no longer clash, which is really jolly. Kelly Fury is saying we all sound great. That's good. That means we don't sound shit, which is delightful to
is.
hear. We've got three main topics that we're going to be talking about tonight. The first of which is the really unfortunate closure of Night School, developer owned by Netflix previously, who'd made Oxenfree and produced and released the game we discussed last week, Netflix's Unhinged. 2 weeks after the game's release, they are no longer. So we're going to be catching up on that story and sort of unpacking where both that studio is and obviously the fact that they are now going to be sunsetted, but also just what that potentially means for Netflix's focus on games and where they're heading. We're seeing again another studio like Amazon Game Studios with some quite high profile purchases and closures, not to mention obviously the Google Stadia debacle, and also then now we have Netflix wading into gaming and then buying a very beloved indie studio. I need to shut them. We've got plenty to talk about with that. We're also going to be touching on the fact that Elder Scrolls 6 apparently is in a playable form. Arsha Sharma from Xbox has apparently played the build, all in amongst while Bethesda protests over the recent layoffs, showing a gigantic inflatable rat outside the main head office studios. A very tricky time to be celebrating their development milestones when there's lots of tumultuous stuff going on with their employment and the state of the industry generally. And also we're going to be switching some gears to some jolly news. We're going to be talking about some really nice sales milestones that Arc Raiders, which we're playing tonight, and also Alan Wake 2 from Remedy has hit. Some very encouraging news on both fronts there. So we'll be covering that this evening. I meant to ask you, Steve, because I know you've been playing Alan Wake Remastered. Have you done it, and have you got to 2 yet?
So I finished Alan Wake Remastered a few months back on the old school PlayStation 4, as the kids would say it, and call it. And then I moved on to Alan Wake 2 through my Amazon account. And so I've been doing some of the Amazon gaming for Alan Wake 2, which is cloud-based. And
Oh,
it's
nice.
been, yeah, it's so I'm about probably 4 hours in, I'd say, into that kind of dual storyline with the dual protagonist aspect of it, and
Playing a saga,
yeah, it's
and have you done obviously the stuff like the mind, like the main menu is effectively like their subconscious, isn't it? It's brilliant.
yeah, it's really well constructed and something that is new to me, and definitely a sidestep to the original Alan Wake in a good way, and just making it bigger and grander. Of course, there was about what 10 to 12 years between releases. Am I correct, John, on that, roughly? Yeah, so you're looking at just, technology changing, creative changing, and currently in both a good way. So I'm totally digging it. Narrative is amazing. Voice acting is fantastic. It's good. It gives you nightmares, so that's, it's a good thing.
Having a great time with that.
Yeah.
Well, let's kick off with that. Let's kick off with the jolliness, because Alan Wake 2 has officially hit 3 million sales. It was already making its money back after 2 million. Remedy, obviously, in their recent financial reporting, had stated that that was the metric they needed to hit in order for profitability to kick in and for them to start getting royalties from it. And now it's hit 3 million sales, which is really, really cool for a game series that had been effectively dormant. And I think the first Control, which has outsold Alan Wake 2 significantly, Control had really drummed up its own fan base, whereas Alan Wake was always, I think, considered fairly niche, but has since developed this sort of cult following. And it's really nice to see that not only has Alan Wake 2, that the bet on that series has paid off for them, but they're starting to make some money back from it. And with Control Resonant right on the horizon, I'm so excited for that game. And it's officially part of the Remedy Connected Universe, so they're all tied in together. It's really exciting to see that studio is continuing to fire on all cylinders. They're also working on Max Payne 1 and 2, the remakes of both of those games. So there's a lot going on over at Remedy, and it was just really nice to see that story of Alan Wake not only just breaking even, but now turning a profit, and then continuing to see success from investing in their staple of IP that build into their connected universe. It's just really exciting. And then the other one is, of course, what we're playing tonight, Arc Raiders, which has just hit, I believe, 16 million players. 800,000 new copies sold in the last quarter, which is impressive considering that their release cadence is a lot more spaced out. You know, they're not doing these big updates every single month, which I think is healthy for both the developers and the game's longevity. And they've hit, 16 million players, which is remarkable for a budget price release and from a middle tier publisher in terms of their scale and scope. Embark deliberately not a particularly big team either, so they're continuing to support the finals, and obviously this, it's secured their future in a time when a lot of developers, I think, were starting to wonder if they had one. So it's just very exciting to see these two studios, both Remedy and Embark, both, you know, independent operations, able to find success, which is very jolly indeed.
One step back too with Alan Wake. So that's available on Luna if you're an Amazon subscriber. So that's just a regular tier of Amazon. So it's, for me, I call it like free to play. And also the title of Control is on that platform as well. So Control is available with a bunch of other high-end games. So you know, it's something I'd say check it out if you have an Amazon account. And you know, Xbox controller, I'm kind of using that with my setup. So yeah, that's just one step back to kind of wrap that one up.
How does that work over there, Steve? Is that are you paying a subscription for that, or do you buy the games individually?
So it's just a subscription. There's no actual game purchases. Now there are also Amazon games. That is a subdivision of the Luna aspect. Luna is the cloud-based gaming. In Amazon games, you get like a few credits per month to purchase a free game if you like. There's the monthly games. And again, if you have an Amazon account,
that's if you have Prime.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, exactly. Amazon Prime. Thank you for diving into the Prime aspect of it. Then again, you can those you download. But with Luna, it's all cloud based. So currently, Alan Wake 2, Alan Wake 1 remastered, Control. They've got Tomb Raider game. They've got the latest Indiana Jones game as well available on Luna. So well, that's a subject really for probably another time too.
Yeah, but that's really interesting though, Steve, because well, Celtic Fury just mentioned in chat that Prime is actually what gives you access to Luna. So if you have a Prime subscription, that gets you in there, right? Because I didn't know if it was like a separate thing you had to pay for, like you had to pay for Amazon Luna on top of Prime. But actually, it looks like it's all one and the same. How does it? What's been your experience with it, Steve? Especially Alan Wake 2, which is a fairly demanding game. Does that cloud streaming run well? Because I know that I'm using the Xbox cloud streaming quite a bit, and that's been my experience with that has been great. Actually, a lot better than I expected. How do you find it runs on your PC?
Fine. I've not seen any latency issues. No stuttering. None of that. There's none of it. There was one time I had to wait in a lobby for about 30 seconds to get in the game. Yeah. And I've engaged. I probably have logged into the game a dozen times. So once out of a dozen. And I actually got in a little bit earlier too to check it out for a little bit to see my hour count. It didn't show me, but I'm like, oh, have I played for 4 hours or 6 hours? And but yeah, it got right into it. So it's like a normal game you'd start up on any of your consoles for the time it takes to load the game in and get to the menu. And yeah, there's not been any latency issues. Again, but it's also a game where I'm not like, we're not fighting another humanoid in real time. So I'm not, I'm not sure how that would happen. But currently their game lineup isn't games like that anyway. It's it's predetermined targets. So yeah, it's been good though.
It's similar to Netflix, which obviously we'll get to. I feel like they haven't pushed that at all. When you mentioned it to me a few weeks ago, I wasn't aware that was available with Prime, and I think there's a lot of people that don't realize.
These are high end too. These are high end games too, which is kind of crazy.
Absolutely. I've started playing Remastered. I started it when you were talking about it, Steve. I'm only I don't know, halfway through maybe. But yeah, I'll probably do the same if it's still in on Amazon when I get to it. I'll probably do the same. I think on Alan Wake, like, it's great that they were profitable. I remember they do like these yearly updates, and we've covered them on System Link like each year. Where it's like, oh, it's nice to hear that Alan Wake's doing okay. But like it should have sold more than 3 million copies, shouldn't it? I was looking at something. I think Pokemon Pokopia on Switch 2 has sold 5 million. I know it's Pokemon, but like in terms of the ambition of Alan Wake 2 and like the quality, they deserve more sales than they get. I think for almost all of the games that they produce, they deserve more sales than they've had. So like it's nice, but I think something, whether it's just the type of games that they make don't have mass appeal, or there's something with marketing, or I know there was I think it's only available on Epic, is it, on PC?
That's right.
Which is a bit contentious, but kind of a mixed bag of good news and bad news for me. I just think it could do better, should do better.
I mean, you look at the time between release dates of Alan Wake 1 and 2 was just astronomical. It's like a new generation of gamers. The time frame between 1 and 2.
Yeah.
So you maybe lose that steam, and there's also marketing involved. Depending on algorithm you are with your social media or whatever. I don't recall ever seeing one Alan Wake ad. That's my algorithm, but I do game, so you would assume that there would be some in my algorithm. But yeah, it's a shame, and also the feel that possibly to wrap it up, the fact that maybe folks felt like, man, I didn't play 1. I really have to play 1 to play 2, and oh crap, it's on an old console. It's on like 2 generations back or whatever it was. I don't have access. I don't have easy access to it. I'll just move on to the next thing in my catalog.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think it was a really tricky one. I think also because even though it had a very fervent following, and obviously I was a huge fan of the original as well, it didn't. I don't know if it sold particularly well originally either. I don't think it was a massive mainstream success by any means. It was always a bit more of a niche experiment for them. We can get loaded in now, Steve. Let's do it. I think it was also just this idea that their franchise that they've really ended up pushing, I think, has ended up being Control. But I also agree with you, Mike, is that, given the quality of those games, you just want them to find a wider audience, don't you? You just want Remedy to get those titles out there. So and they have dipped a toe in other stuff that hasn't always landed, like FBC Firebreak didn't, even though it was all included in both PlayStation Plus and Game Pass. I don't think was a particularly successful experiment for them. So, but they're willing to take those leaps. If anything, though, I think it proves that their real strength is those very tightly written narrative experiences. That's where Remedy, that's what they're known for, and that's what they're good at. Nice to see them trying to expand a little bit the existing franchise, but I do think that's what their pedigree is, and it's what they lean towards.
I think we've talked about it before as well, like studios that have a successful release and then they go like all out and make a AAA or quadruple A title that like will bankrupt the studio if it fails. Whereas Remedy seem really sensible, and talking about the marketing, maybe they didn't want to go overboard in case the game didn't land, and they just seem quite restrained in how they go about things.
I agree, and I think you look at Control Resonant. They haven't gone like fully open world. It's like you're in New York, but they're sort of like bigger zones, and they're not. They've gone for like a third-person melee game rather than just a straight third-person shooter this time. That's kind of that's where they're pushing. They're not, trying to make it a 100-hour game. They're not trying to make it open world, and I think that's just really smart and measured by them to not go beyond their means, especially when you consider how they are still an independent team. They are not backed by some enormous publisher.
Yeah.
Which is it's really encouraging to see that both are well, both are healthy. Both Embark and Remedy have put themselves in positions of actually being quite secure, I think, for the rest of this generation, and that they are able to now continue updating these games. And I'd love to see what they do after. They are incubating their next project. So you've got the Max Payne 1 and 2 remakes. You've got Control Resident coming out in September that I imagine will be going gold imminently. Then what's something else? Is it Alan Wake 3? Is it like a crossover game? There's a lot of possibilities for them to expand their little connected universe that they've made. So it's an exciting time to be a fan of those kind of games. And again, priced appropriately. I'm pretty sure Control Resonant's 50 quid. So it's they're not going the full 60 or sometimes £70 releases. So it's more power to them. It's a great success and a nice way to kick off the podcast tonight before we get into some slightly more disappointing news. And I think we've segued helpfully here. Night School Studios, developers behind Oxenfree. They are no more. Bought by Netflix a few years ago. Just released a interactive horror experience title, I think would be the easiest way to describe it. Perhaps in a slightly less convoluted way, but Unhinged, starring Troy Baker. Radar flare over there. And it's no more. 3 weeks after that game was made available. That studio is done and dusted. And I wanted to ask you, obviously, Steve, you've completed it, right?
Mike did too.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you both have.
Yeah, last night, yeah.
Oh, yep. Nice one. So, I'll ask you both. Do you think Unhinged had scope for a direct sequel? And then, as a follow-up question, do you think that format and type of game had a future on Netflix?
I'll take the quick lead. Definitely sequel or sequels were laid out in the storyline.
Okay, so there was scope for that.
There's scope for it. Execution of the game through your cell phone as a controller / the flashlight as a cell phone in the game worked perfectly. Thirdly, Netflix, I think, does a piss poor job of telling folks that they've got a gaming division.
I did not know about this game until you told me about it, Steve.
I only found out about it after they revamped their entire menu screen, which I had been on Netflix in like about a month and a half, and then I saw, oh wait, they've got games. I would have never known. Basically, the new structure of their menu screen was what gave it away. So that's my input on that subject.
I have footsteps in here.
Yep.
There's a shredder up there as well.
Up there.
Got some pops over here. Mike, do you think that there was potential with the format?
Definitely. I don't know about potential on Netflix because there's no basis to say that sort of game could be successful on Netflix because they haven't really tried other than this, and it obviously hasn't worked. They've only given it a couple of weeks, which is disappointing to see if they can say it's worked or not. But I agree with Steve completely. Like I was looking for it on. We would generally watch Netflix via the Xbox, and I understand why they don't show the Netflix games on Xbox. I'm sure Microsoft wouldn't let them do that. But then I tried on my TV app, the Netflix app on my TV. It wasn't on there.
On the dedicated app.
Interesting.
Yeah, well, I think it's to do with your TV. I'm just about to breach that your TV, how modern it is. But it's like we bought it maybe 3 years ago, and it was I guess a couple of years old when we bought it. It's not, considering what the game is, and it's not like it's running natively, presumably. Yeah, it was. So that was hard, and then I got it working on my laptop easily. It came up there, but when I looked on my phone, I think it didn't show up. So it will show you certain games that will run on your phone. So it's all just I'd like to see it on there. And then it just say you can't run this on this device. try on your PC or something.
Right.
Because it was like, does this game actually exist? Steve was talking about it. Did he get confused and it's on a different service or something?
Have you lied the whole time? Is this actually real?
Yeah.
It was a mess. And the controller thing, the controller was really, really cool once it was working, using your phone as a controller, but didn't work on my wife's phone, which is newer than mine. It was just like not... it came up, but she couldn't calibrate her, where you reset the pointer to the middle. It wouldn't do that bit. And my ancient Android phone, it worked.
Because you'd need something like this to have like no barriers, don't you? Like that, if you're gonna, especially because you made the decision to play a game via Netflix, so you're in Netflix mode. You're on the sofa. You were planning to probably just watch something, so you're already planning to be passive. So I think there can't be any barriers to that success. Like the streaming quality's got to be good. It can't be a thing where you're going to be affected. Your enjoyment's going to be affected just trying to get the thing to run.
And I think too that was the basis of the Unhinged. The fact it's episodic. It's a 30 to 60-minute gameplay. That's it. So you feel like you're in an interactive game, and it's an episode of a show or whatever. So I love that concept, but you're right. To find it, and obviously for Mike, the issues he had just to install or play the game it's a little too much.
I think from the perspective of if they showed it alongside TV series, a game like that is almost like a TV show, they should show it alongside the big TV shows that they have, and then you should click on it and it will say this is a game to run it, do this or whatever. Especially if it's on a device that will play it. Just let people click on it and think, what is this? And then they scan the QR code and their phone comes on and it's like, oh, this is really cool. And
they'll feel like they've discovered something.
Reach the mainstream otherwise.
Yeah, and actually that might be the way that it goes viral. Is people then talk about it, go, dude, did you see this thing on Netflix? Like, did you even know this was there? And that's where the sort of almost the lack of advertising plays to their advantage, because then it's entirely word of mouth. Oh, I just walked straight into that part.
Now, do you guys watch Stranger Things at all, or no?
I have watched 2 seasons of it. I'm not up to date.
Okay,
yeah, I'm the same.
Actually, I'm not up to date either. So Sadie Sink is one of the voice actresses. I wonder if they had any in Unhinged. So I wonder if there was any type of promotion while you watch Stranger Things or you clicked on Stranger Things. If they didn't do that, then it's a huge missed opportunity there. Also, Zoe Kravitz was one of the main folks too in Unhinged.
Seriously good cast then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm gonna.
But there's no. I read a couple of bits of coverage about the release, but like there was no previews of it that I came across, or again no marketing done at all, and no real promotion by Netflix. We're probably all Netflix subscribers, and it just wasn't surfaced at all. And
I didn't know about it until you told me. Like I really had no clue.
Censors for you, John.
I'm on the cheapest Netflix tier as well, so if they wanted to advertise it to me, they could definitely find a way to get that in front of me.
Yeah, and there's no barrier, right? Like there's no, you have to be on a particular tier to play it.
I didn't know. No, it was part of. I believe I think I'm on the regular tier, like the lowest tier as well. Yeah, I have to be because I'm cheap. So yeah, it's the same when it comes to Amazon Prime and the Luna. So Luna does have a second tier. For the games, which I don't need to dive into. I've got enough selection for what I currently have. But yeah.
I do think that's a huge shame. Much as well, Oxenfree was such a well-regarded game. It's such a shame that studio is just now does not exist. And as much as I'm not trying to good news PR Microsoft, but they have a storied history of fumbling the ball with managing their first-party studios. The 4 that have divested, case in point. However, that recent swath of closures, yes, there was those huge layoffs, and that's just disgusting. I'm glad that those teams have been able to exist. Like, Night School are just gone. That's it. They're done.
There was a gunshot that came across the room. Low down to the west.
All right.
I saw the bullet trail.
There's some guys fighting out here near the building.
That might have been stray bullet.
Could have been a stray because they were taking on some arc.
Yeah, let's hit the evac, guys. I did. There's secret grenades are here. There's other stuff too. Like anybody wants some stuff, and I did drop off an anvil and stuff right in front of the security. There's a bunch of stuff in front of the security breach I dropped off.
I'm absolutely full to bursting, so I say we.
Yeah, me too. So it's up to you, Mike.
Head to evac.
Yeah, happy to go.
I've tagged it.
I
I
do have a radar key too, if need be.
We'll be safe. That's the thing I think is really disappointing, is that when, again, not trying to... it sounds like I'm trying to find a silver lining to thousands of people, being kicked out of Microsoft, but I am wondering the difference of some of these scenarios, right? That Xbox have found a way to let these studios continue or buy back their independence or were open to those deals, and in the case of Netflix...
Raider at the far end, to the northwest, sorry.
Oh. They're done. They're just finished. And I just find that really odd and a shame, actually, that we've got in a position now where a really talented indie team is just no more. They've gone. And I just think that's a shame. Oh, there's guys above me.
That's the west.
Just going to ignore him for now. Hasn't got a gun out. Looks like it's by themselves. And of course, that brings us to, and I've mentioned Microsoft already, that brings us to Arsha Sharma, having apparently played Elder Scrolls 6, and has been very complimentary of that build, all at the same time as a giant inflatable rat is currently out the front of Bethesda Studios protesting the significant cuts that Bethesda have received across a variety of teams. Now, I talked about the sort of good news PRing. Do we think that was Microsoft's attempt to try to somehow, perhaps tone deafly, adjust the conversation? To be like, Elder Scrolls 6, remember? That might be an exclusive given our new policy, because there's been such an outcry from Bethesda supporters and obviously current staff about the way they handled the layoffs and the significant hit that Bethesda has taken. Do we think this was just an attempt to try and PR a tricky situation?
I feel like maybe it's too close to the layoffs for it. I don't know. I feel like they must have expected some sort of like bad press from the. How long ago was it? It was pretty recent. I just think you would maybe choose a studio that hasn't been as hard hit, or I don't know. It wasn't necessary to make a try and make a PR beat out of it. I don't think. I think it was insensitive, and I think fair play to the workers, to be honest, with trying to make a stand about it. I forget which studio it was, but someone that's still working for Xbox came out and said some negative stuff. I can't remember which studio it was. That was in the last week as well. So I get what you're saying about it's nice that the studios that could have been closed were maintained, but I do think in the case of Netflix, the studio size was probably so much smaller. The games they make the budgets are probably completely incomparable to the studios that Xbox had. And I think they also probably realised that after a lot of recent cases where studios have just been completely shut, it would have been like almost incomprehensible to have all of these studios, and like Double Fine. I can't see Double Fine was ever going to be closed just because of their history, and they have people at Double Fine who have a lot of money and would probably want to keep it going. So I think it's a bit of a mixed bag.
A tricky one there as well, I think, because it's just we're at a time where there seems to be like layoffs every week. Supermassive Games just laid off 75 people. That's the Until Dawn and the Dark Pictures developer. And they also just recently completed a round of layoffs as well, only just last year. Halo Studios, obviously, it was since clarified that they were sort of contractors that were people that were on fixed-term contracts. They were outside help, and their contract had ended, but they had to announce it as that. Whether, again, that's damage control, I don't know. But just seems like that is the narrative. And it's just fascinating, I think, when you do get those studios that do break through, the Embarks and the Remedies and the IO Interactives as well. Like, they've got dipped a toe into publishing now. They've obviously got a huge hit with 007. Hitman still being updated. These independent teams, these AA studios, have found a a space for themselves. And it's when you actually look across a lot of the big profile closures, it's the big publishers, it's Ubisoft shuttering studios, it's what may happen with EA now that they've gone private, and we don't know that yet. But what we've seen from Microsoft and even Sony, seems to be it's the AAA end is the one that's often taking the hit, which is such a disappointment when you think that has been a huge part of the industry for so long. I wanted to actually segue a little bit there and sort of say, given Xbox's situation with exclusives and the fact that Gears E-Day and Clockwork Revolution are both going to be exclusive to console and PC, do we see them pull the trigger on Elder Scrolls since they haven't announced a platform for it? Do we think that that's maybe like a way of like making it like a Helix launch title, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe. The timing is a bit odd. I just think that there's other games that you would talk about that are everyone knows it's coming. I guess it's nice to know it's in a playable state, but it kind of gets people's hopes up.
That it's closer than they think, maybe.
Well, yeah.
Well, no, sorry, it's further out than they think now, because even though they've said it seems like it's going to be right there, it's coming soon, we played it, it's actually still a long way out, most likely.
Yeah, I don't see there's that much benefit in talking about. Phil used to do it as well. Like he was talking about playing Everwild, and then they cancelled it like a month later. And he was saying how good it was. So I don't think we can put too much stock in what's come out. Like, it's nice for Elder Scrolls fans. I also they were like putting asterisks instead of the subtitle of the game, which there's definitely a marketing and PR element to it, just based on how sort of choreographed those sort of exchanges were. But I don't know how much impact that will have on the overall sentiment towards Xbox at the moment.
No, I think that's fair. I wonder if this is it is trying to lay some groundwork, that we're getting through this period now of all these sort of big cuts and adjustments. It's almost like they need to see the gen out, don't they? They need to have like a fresh shot. But I don't know how many of those they've got left in the hardware business. I don't know what that looks like for them. There's still a lot of unknowns, I think, with Xbox and where they're heading. Well, folks, thank you so much for tuning in to the latest episode of System Link. It's been a treat, as also, to get some Arc Raiders going while we've been playing. I think for the most part, we were able to sort of play that while talking. There's a couple moments where I was like, I need to go over here, or there's a shredder up there. And I think that worked nicely. Thank you, folks, again for tuning in, and obviously we'll be the VOD will be up on both Twitch and YouTube straight after the stream as soon as it is done. I wanted to give also a quick thank you and a shout out to our community poll. I asked about if anyone had actually dipped a toe in Netflix games generally, if that's something they'd looked at, and for the most part, the votes that we got on there, it was maybe had a look or a browse or maybe tried one, but that was it. There wasn't a huge amount of engagement there. So obviously Netflix have access to the spreadsheets. They're seeing, the number of people that engage with Unhinged, but did they set them up to fail? There's some bigger questions to be asked there about the marketing, as we've kind of touched on a bit tonight. Yeah. But generally the sentiment where I think, and I certainly can express that, I have not seen anything on any of it. They've done such a piss poor job of pushing that through their own app and through their own marketing. It's makes you wonder, what they're thinking really in terms of what's the strategy there. But obviously a bigger conversation to be had, and probably one that we'll end up circling back to. Mike, Steve, thank you so much for joining us for this latest episode. It's a treat as always. And folks, we will see you next time.
See ya.